a secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull-no-punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody, welcome to Blondes and Booze. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are y'all?
Good. Hello, all you boosters out there. Good to see you all again.
Well, the only thing is, Letitia, you're lying to us because I know you feel like crap.
I'll be okay for a little while.
Okay.
If I have to go, I'll jet like I did last night.
Okay. All right. Well, we really both appreciate you guys co-hosting with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Well, you're welcome. We appreciate all you guys do for us.
Well, absolutely.
That's the least we can do.
That's what friends are for, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. I'm kind of excited about this show tonight, and we met Anna through you guys. She's one of the sisters of the Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Right, she's a wolf sister.
Yes.
Yep.
It's kind of like it's a Brotherhood of the Wolf kind of night.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely it is. Before we bring Anna up, I'm going to go ahead. Let's talk about the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. And Brandy, that's your thing.
Oh, jeez. That's my thing. Just put it up there.
Yeah.
Okay. We just keep talking about this because, like I said, it's such a good deal. It's the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. It's in Anniston, Alabama, at the Anniston Performing Arts Center. Of course, we're going to have some really great speakers. We have Barton, Nunnelly, of course, Daryl Denton, Blondes and Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Groves, and Bigfoot Michigan Rob. What I really love about this is that the tickets are a very low price for having all these great speakers, and we're going to be there all day. So we would like for you to come see us. On Friday night, the 7th, we're doing a dinner. We're doing it a little bit different. We're not having you prepay to come or anything like that. All you do is you just give us an email, say, hey, I'm coming with X amount of people. We have limited space. We write you down. All you do is you pay for your meal. That's all. So no extra money involved in there except for paying your own meal. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. And then, just come hang with all of us. We, after dinner, we usually go somewhere and have a few drinks, and everybody'd be welcome to go with us. So
we'll have a great time. It's going to be a great time for everybody at a great price. So come on out and see us if you can.
Absolutely. And Brandy, just want to remind everybody what to watch this week, and we'll get on with it.
Sure. Absolutely. On Monday, it's Texas Front Porch with Tex and myself. That is at 7 p.m. Central. On Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central, it's Beyond BMR with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m., it's Donnie Cho Says Stuff. At 8 p.m., of course, it is Barton Nunnelly in the Inhumanoids and his lovely wife, Letitia. And, of course, you're going to see us, me and Krista, in and out over there. On Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central, it's Blondes and Booze. On Friday at 8 p.m. Central, if you didn't catch us on Thursday, you can also catch us on Friday with Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. Saturdays at 2 p.m. Central, Tex and Danielle Diva released their newest episode of Infamous Minds.
Wow, you got that all lined out, man. It's a mouthful.
It is.
It sure is.
I would have to read all that.
What's that?
But I would have to read all that for sure.
Well, in the beginning we had to. So it's yeah. Been doing this for over a year now, so it's kind of there.
Yeah, it gets easier, except when everybody changes, when they change dates or they change times or they add something, delete something. It gets a little bit complicated every once in a while.
But it does.
All right. Look at all these fun.
Yeah.
Wow. Hello, everybody.
Yes.
We see a couple of
Lots of people in chat, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. For sure. I'm going to not waste any time. And real quick, Bart, how close are you to 6,000?
Oh,
wow. Thank you, Hawk.
Thank you, Hawk.
45.
45.
45.
That is incredible. Yeah.
Thank you, Krista.
So if you guys have not subscribed to Inhumanoids with Barton Nunnelly, please do so. Let's throw him over the top here before Christmas.
Yeah, let's get him there by next week. We can do 45 in a week. You think?
I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm at.
I think we can. Let's do it by next Wednesday. Let's start. Bart show off.
Oh.
Next Wednesday, 6,000. Let's do it.
We're only 24 away. We just looked.
24.
Yeah. That changed from this afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we'll see you on Saturday with 6,000. Okay.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
There you go. Thank you, Hawk. Once again, we appreciate that.
Thank you, Hawk.
Yes, buddy. We appreciate you.
Yes. And I'm going to just bring Anna up. Hey there.
Hi, Anna.
Hello, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
Anna is as I said earlier, she's one of the sisters.
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Hello, Sister Wolf.
Yes, Sister Wolf.
How you been doing,
Sister
Anna?
Wife, Sister Wolf.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, we Bart, you and Anna have known each other a long time, though, haven't you?
Yes, we have, and I have to say she's one of my most dearest and beloved friends that I've ever had. So.
Yep.
Aww.
Yeah, we were friends on MySpace.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
I was wondering if anybody even remembers MySpace.
Yeah,
I loved MySpace. Personally.
I did too.
I really loved it.
I did too. They should bring MySpace back, huh?
Yeah, I was like so disappointed when all my friends left MySpace and went to Facebook. I'm like, why would they do that?
Right. Absolutely. That's funny. That's too funny. Anna, you've got a long history of paranormal and weirdness yourself, correct?
Yes, some of my earliest memories as a very young child were of paranormal events that happened. It's been a lifetime full of them.
Where do you want to start?
Well, if you want to, we'll just start with the near-death experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my car accident.
Yeah.
Okay. This happened in April of 1995. I was 24 years old. I had two kids, a 6-year-old and 10-month-old. We had just come out of winter. I hate winter. I hate being locked up inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that April day, it was Sunday. It was so pretty out. Wanted to get out. So I talked to Kevin, my husband, into taking a drive because we were interested in looking at lake lots. We wanted to build a log cabin on the lake, on Harrington Lake. And we packed up the kids. And when you got a 10-month-old, you're packing stuff up. So we did. Headed down towards the lake, spent some time down there looking at lake lots. We had one in particular that we had picked out. As a matter of fact, we were going to go to the bank that next week to try to get a loan to buy the lot. So we were on our way back home. It was US 27 in Garrett County. and we were on a stretch of country road that was just 2 lanes. There were no emergency lanes, and the stretch that we were on, it was a slight curve, and there were rock walls on both sides. So I remember turning towards Kevin in the car just a little bit and asking him a question about, let's stop and get some steak so when we can grill out when we get home.
Mhm.
And the look on his face was just of terror. And he yells, "Hold on." And when I turned my head back to look out the windshield, all I saw was that Toyota emblem coming straight at me. And I
Wow.
don't remember the exact impact, but I remember afterwards, Kevin said it spun our car around. She was doing 60. We were doing about 55. Kevin hit our brakes. They never hit their brakes.
Wow.
And the next thing I remember was I knew we'd been in an accident, did not know how bad it was.
Before
But I
you
could hear
continue,
the
I'm going to pull. Is it okay if I put the picture up that you sent me?
Sure.
All right, guys. If you have a weak stomach, it's she's definitely lucky to be alive.
Look away for a minute.
Yep.
And I was on the passenger side, no seatbelt.
Jesus.
Wow.
Wow.
It took them 30 minutes to get me out of the car. They brought in the jaws of life. They cut the roof off the top. They put a blanket over me. And then they took logging chains and tied them around the dash and pulled the dash up off of me. The
Wow.
dash came in so much that the radio cut Kevin's stomach.
Oh my
And he was
gosh.
holding the steering wheel, and he bent the steering wheel in the impact. But I heard
Wow.
my kids crying, and I knew that they were alive. And my 6-year-old was screaming, "Mommy, Mommy." But that kind of gave me some comfort because I knew they were alive.
Yeah.
I didn't know how bad a shape I was in. I was probably in terrible shock because I don't remember what the dash looked like. But my husband tried to get his hand down to push my seat back because the dash was in on me so far, and he couldn't do it. There was so much jagged metal around me that he couldn't. And the next thing I remember was a paramedic was there and asked my husband to move so that they could get to me. And I remember the smell of burning rubber, the smell of antifreeze. It was like hearing the jaws of life, the generator for it going. And then the next thing I remember was kind of being lifted a little bit. I guess that's when they were taking me out of the car. And later on, my 6-year-old daughter would tell me, "Mama, when they pulled you out of the car, you were all bloody and your legs were going the wrong way."
Wow.
So my 6-year-old had to witness all of this at the scene. The other passenger in the other car, it threw him up into the dash and the windshield, and there was a lot of head trauma, and my 6-year-old had to witness all of that. She was
Wow.
very
Oh,
traumatized
wow.
for weeks.
Does she remember it now?
Yes, and there's a part that she remembers a little bit later that I'll tell you about that. That story ended up in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Angels Among Us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's interesting. But if anybody's ever been in a car accident, you know that when they come and get you out of the car, they put you in a neck brace and then they put you on a flat board so that you stay still and stable until they get you to the hospital. And you're strapped down. You can't move. You can't sit up. They want you to stay steady in one position.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a discussion on whether they were going to life flight me out or put me in an ambulance because there was only one life flight available at the time. But the older gentleman, he had so much head trauma that they chose to take him on the life flight. So they loaded me in the ambulance. And that's when it got interesting.
Wow.
I remember being in the ambulance and hearing the sirens. The next thing I remember is sitting completely up. And as I've already said, you can't do that when
Mhm.
you're locked down on that flat board.
Yeah.
But I was sitting up completely and I was watching them work on me. and they had a curved pair of scissors, and they cut off my shoes and my socks and started cutting into my pants. And then they took my wedding rings off of me, and I was like, why are they doing that? And then I kind of lifted up and was looking down at myself and what they were doing to me. They were feverishly working on me. I was bleeding to death. I had a main artery in my femur, a femoral artery, I think it was, that had been damaged. So I was bleeding from it. I had crushed bones from the waist down. And from what I understand, you bleed very bad from crushed bones.
Mhm.
And I was looking down over what they were doing. I felt completely at ease. I had no worries. There was no fear. I felt like myself,
Mhm.
but I just knew everything was going to be perfectly fine. I didn't have any worry at that time. And I was kind of curious as to why were they doing that so fast and furious trying to work on me?
Mhm.
Because the way I felt looking down at the situation, everything was perfectly fine and perfectly at peace.
Wow.
Then it was like a jolt, and I was back laying on that board and feeling the rocking of that ambulance and hearing the sirens because they were booking it, trying to get me to a hospital in Lexington. And when
Wow.
they got me to Lexington, I had a 10-hour emergency surgery. They sequestered my family into a private room and called in the hospital chaplain and a hospital psychiatrist to prepare my family for my death.
Wow.
During that 10-hour surgery, I woke up in the middle of it. Now, it wasn't for a long time, but obviously they were working on my right tibia because it felt like they were just drilling with hot coals or spikes into my leg. And I remember seeing the light, the surgical lights above me, and then I guess it was probably the anesthesiologist with his mask on, and he just kind of nodded his head, and I felt like I was trying to sit up, but of course I wasn't sitting up, but it was just kind of felt like I was trying. He just kind of patted my shoulder and I was back out. So it was just
Yeah.
for a moment, but for that moment I could feel what they were doing to my leg. And what they were actually doing was inserting an external fixator. So if anybody has ever had an external fixator, it is where they take real big screws, and sometimes it can be a cage-like thing, but mine was more like a bar. And I actually have a couple of the screws left over that was threaded into my bone.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And if you see the threads,
Yeah.
that was threaded all the way up to here into my bone. And I had 2 of these in my tibia. And then this one, I had 2 of these down at the bottom of my ankle. And they did that because my ankle had been crushed. My right ankle had been crushed to cornflakes and sand. They had
Wow.
to suck that out and take a piece of bone from my hip and put in my ankle to repair it. And to this day, the right side of my leg is like a ½ inch shorter because I lost so much bone. But I had been crushed from the waist down. I had a small head injury, closed head injury that was a brain bleed, but it was very small and it dissolved on its own. My spleen was split. They cut me open from right below my sternum all the way down below my belly button because they had to do emergency exploratory because I had about a third of my blood pooled in my abdomen and I was dying. They found out that was from all the broken bones in my pelvic. My pelvic was broken in 4 places.
Wow.
Yeah, that was awful. It was awful. And then my left femur was crushed, a good 8 inches into my knee joint. And then my right tibia, right at the knee, a fist size, was crushed and it was cracked down the middle, like a T break.
Wow.
And then I had the external fixator that was there to keep my ankle steady while it healed. So I
Wow.
spent 3 days in ICU. I was on traction. I can remember when they came in and put another 10 pounds on that traction, and I felt that. I had an IV in my neck, and there were 3 lines coming out of the IV in my neck, along with IVs in my arms. After the 3 days in ICU and the 10-hour emergency surgery, I was stable enough to be moved to the trauma floor. So I spent a month at on the trauma floor, and I had 2 more 4-hour surgeries on my ankle during that month. Finally, they told me that I could go home. I was stable enough to go home, but I never saw my home with my husband and my kids again because I was going to be bedridden for a minimum of 6 months. So I would not be able to take care of either one of my children. I couldn't move. I was completely bedridden. When they released me from the hospital, they put me on a stretcher in an ambulance and drove me to my mother's home, and I stayed in a hospital bed in their living room, totally bedridden for 6 months while I healed.
Wow.
Finally, after 6 months, I was able to heal enough to where I was able to start standing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, when I was in the hospital bed, my 6-year-old came to me one day, and I did not want her to blame God for what had happened because things happen to people every day. We all go through hardships, one degree or another.
Yeah.
But she was a very impressionable, traumatized 6-year-old. So I was trying to explain to her that this was life on earth, and we have to go through things like this sometimes, but God is always with us. And she said, I know that, Mommy, because I saw the angel move in front of you before the car hit us.
Wow.
Wow.
And I said,
I've got chills. Seriously.
And I said, really? And she said, yes. So I started asking her questions because the conversation started out me trying to bolster her. And she kind of flipped it and was telling me something that was totally unexpected for me to hear.
Wow.
And so I was asking her questions. And typically, if you walk into a store, if you buy a little figurine of an angel, it's usually feminine. In our society, typically you think of female angels, feminine type pictures and little statues and stuff like that. And I kept calling it she. And she said, no, Mommy, it was a he angel.
Oh.
And that's the name of the title of the story in the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. It was a he angel because she kept correcting me.
Oh, that's amazing.
And if you go through the Bible, all of the angels do have more of a masculine name.
Right. There are no female angels. I know a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
They're all male.
My little 6-year-old daughter was like, no, Mama, it was a he angel.
Wow. That is just amazing. Seriously. Like, you're not only lucky to be alive, but you walk.
Yeah.
Yes,
because they told me I may never walk again.
Wow.
They didn't know if I would live, and then they didn't know if I would walk again because I just had so much damage.
You do really good.
You do really good. Down there in the LBL with us.
Yeah. I got to tell you, everybody that's watching, she's right out there, like, out in the middle of the woods, walking with the rest of us.
That's right.
I'm very blessed to be able to do that.
Wow. I feel like, that is definitely, a miracle, and God left you here for a bigger purpose. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
And honestly, ever since I met you, I liked you. You have a aura about you is positive vibes. You're just a very vibrant, positive. You give off good energy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try.
You do.
I do too. You're an amazing person, Anna. And we all love you, really. It's amazing experience that you had. How did it change your daughter? I know it made you more spiritual. Did it make your daughter more spiritual and more aware of what's going on that around us that you can't see normally?
Yes, my oldest daughter has a lot of paranormal experiences herself. My youngest daughter, who was 10 months old at the time, her not so much. But my
Mhm.
oldest daughter, yes, she's had multiple paranormal experiences, and she's quite an empath. Like, I feel like I'm an empath. I did not understand that for a long time. And I would
Mhm.
take on other people's feelings, and it would really, really bother me. And I did not understand what was happening when I would get around other people and they would be upset, or, I would just soak all that in. And I didn't realize for a long time what was happening. And I
Yeah.
think because I'd had paranormal experiences all my life, so that was not unfamiliar to me, but understanding what was going on with me as far as that was concerned, that opened me up better for a better understanding and able to block myself from being able to take on a lot of that when I was around people.
Yeah.
And it also kind of gave me the opportunity to block out or stop some of the paranormal because I've never really had a good paranormal experience. It's always been fearful. That it allowed me to better block that out so that it didn't affect me in a negative way.
Right. Right. So, okay, you had your husband and your children in the car.
Yeah.
What physical ailments, how were they physically?
My youngest daughter, she was buckled up in a car seat, and she had just started walking because she was at 10 months old, and it hurt her hip a little bit. So she stopped walking for a little bit. She had, bruises from just the impact itself.
Mhm.
My 6-year-old, there was just a lap belt in the back of that Honda Civic. So she was just in a lap belt, and it thrust her forward and it banged her knees on the back of the driver's seat, and her poor little knees were black and blue and so swollen for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
But they were okay other than that, and the emotional trauma for her. And
Yeah.
Kevin, he had a 2 to 3 inch gash on his stomach from the radio curving in on him from the dash. And he hurt his hand from where he held the steering wheel. But he walked away from that. Other than
Wow.
that, he got out of the car and walked away from that. And if you think about the impact, the other cars, they were doing 60, no brakes. We were
Wow.
55. So imagine that impact.
Wow.
So did everyone in the other car survive or not?
The older gentleman, he did pass away. He was 3 beds down from me in ICU, and 3 days later he passed.
Oh,
Wow.
The person that was driving that car, I don't want to sound mean because I don't want to be mean, and I'm not coming across as mean, but she ended up in a well-to-do nursing home. She broke her hip. I don't even want to call it a nursing home. It was more of a retirement home that had cherry furniture, that had chefs that made gourmet meals. She got her hair done while I was at UK in Kentucky fighting for my life.
Wow.
But you have to learn to forgive, because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it all these years if I had not have forgiven.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
It was a
I
little
tell you
bit
what,
of
it takes a big person to forgive, I mean, I fight with my inner demons every day, and you went through something so traumatic that that you can forgive these people. It's just amazing.
And I was still recovering. I have had 10 surgeries. I need a few more. I need both of my knees replaced. I need my ankle fused where it doesn't move. And I'm looking at a hip replacement because of the difference in height of my legs now. It makes me limp, so it wears out my right hip. But I was
Yeah.
still going through surgeries. And 3 years later, in July of 1998, we had 4 family members that were T-boned and killed together in front of the castle on Versailles Road. And it was my
Wow.
husband's mother, sister, sister-in-law, and 11-year-old niece. And
Wow.
his
Sorry to hear
24-year-old
that.
sister was in the car too. There were 5 of them in the car. And his youngest sister, the one that was 24, was the only one that survived that accident. So
Wow.
we had to pick out 4 caskets. It just so happened that we were able to find 4 dresses in sizes to fit from an 11-year-old to my mother-in-law, who was 64. They all wore the same dress. And I can't tell you how awful it was to walk into a funeral home with 4 caskets of 4 people that you love. And I just stood there, and it was like I didn't know who to go to first to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Can't imagine that.
I couldn't either. I
Yeah,
couldn't either.
it was awful. Somebody deliberately ran a red light to get through that light, and they were making a left turn, and it T-boned them. And something is interesting, if I can bring this picture up. We did not know it, but the last Christmas that we had with them, my father-in-law would always get us something to wear for night, for Christmas Eve. I'm trying to get this picture brought up. There it goes. And so that Christmas, the last one that we had with them, this is the gown.
Can you send that to me and I can put it up? I can put it up on the.
Yeah.
Send it through Messenger and I can put it up and everybody can see it. But it's kind of hard sometimes to see through the phone like that.
Yeah.
You're
But we all had
definitely.
angels on our gowns.
Wow.
No.
All angels. And that was our last Christmas with them. And we
Wow.
were all wearing angel gowns.
And what year was that?
That was in last Christmas with them was in 1997. And they were killed in July of 1998.
Wow.
Very,
And
very
then,
sad.
yeah, it was something, and the deaths didn't end. The deaths did not end after that. We really went through it. A year and a half later, my father-in-law passed away of a massive heart attack, leaving the 24-year-old sister that survived that accident. And I took her in and took care of her. Even with my injuries and still going through surgeries, I was her caregiver for a while after that happened. 2 months after Kevin's dad passed away of the massive heart attack, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. Then
Wow.
a month later, my grandmother passed away. And then 11 months later, my dad lost his battle with lung cancer.
Holy
So all
smokes.
that happened within a 3-year span.
Wow.
Wow. Mm-mm.
It's terrible.
It is. It truly is.
My wife
Wow.
was the same thing with her family.
I did, Anna.
Yeah.
We lost 14 in 4 years.
Yeah, it is
All close family
unbelievable
members.
when you have to go through that. How
is.
do you grieve?
Yeah. You don't have time. You don't have time to grieve.
You don't.
You don't get past the first one before you lose the next one. That's the way it was with me. And
Yeah.
I know how you feel. It's awful. Awful.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry.
Yeah. For sure. For
God
sure.
pulled us both through. Gotta say
Yes.
that.
And we're so glad that you're both here today with us tonight. So, just you're an inspiration, Anna, and such a strong person to go
Yeah.
through all that.
And a hell of a cook, I gotta say. Gotta throw that in too.
Yes, she's a good cook.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, sit back and listening to the story, it kind of gives you a reason to the whole holiday season. It really does. And I hate to say it that way because it's so cliche. But you sit there and you think about all these gifts that we are given. And then, you hear about everything that's taken away from us.
Yeah.
But it just seems like to me, Anna, you came through this with your spiritual self intact,
Yeah.
without it fading.
Yeah.
And, you hear so many stories about that when bad things happen to good people, they lose their faith. And, it just becomes such a hardship for them to even get through life.
Yeah.
But here you are, you're as spiritual as you've ever been. You're out there, you're out there looking for dogmen, you're looking for Bigfoot, we're finding the prints, you're running the trails, I mean, you're picking up rocks with me. Come on. It's just like, there are good things in this world. And it's like, it's all because of God. And it's just amazing to me. It's like a big old testimony right here. It's like, bam, right in your face. So,
Yeah.
if you were ever faltering in anything, if anybody in chat, if you were ever faltering in your faith, here is a reason. She's telling you, be strong, stay in the faith, and you'll make it through. I mean, it's got me in my feelings.
Yeah.
There was two
Well,
things that I was asked a lot and I held on to and I understood from a spiritual point of view was, number one, we are promised by God that we will meet again. We will be with God and we will be with Jesus and we will be with our families again. And that was a promise that was big for me, that I held on to because I knew where they were.
Mhm.
And the second thing is, the devil has control of this world right now.
Mhm.
And we can't blame God for the terrible things that are happening because
Right.
there's somebody else in control of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's that's kind of like what my shirt is today, because I'm laughing because it says like nope and nope, and it says nope, not today on the bottom of the shirt. It's like, not today, Satan, not today.
Yeah.
Right.
Stay away from me, not today.
And there is a verse in Isaiah, can't remember the exact chapter and verse number, but it says that the good are taken so that they do not have to deal with the awful things that are going on this earth.
Yeah.
I
And
believe that.
Mhm.
And that was another thing that kind of stuck out to me because, things can be very random, but there's a purpose in that randomness. And Satan would
Yeah.
love nothing more than to take people's faith from them.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he
That's
does
his job.
every day.
Yeah.
But you have to look at it. Every day is a gift, and everyone is a gift as well. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
the gifts and not dwell on what's been taken away, but try to focus more on what you have. So
Yeah.
and we have everybody here is just, we're all friends. We love each other. We're like family.
Mhm.
And
We truly are, because like
Yeah.
we do, all of us hang out, and it just happens to be at the LBL. But when we talk about it, yes, we are out in the woods and stuff, but you know what? There's a lot of times we're sitting around the fire, just having a good time, talking and laughing, and
Don't remind War Criminal of that, please.
war criminals.
He's going to be on here saying that's all y'all do is sit around the campfire watch. Here he comes. Here he comes. He's going to say something.
Yeah.
He cracks me
Well,
up.
we get to talking and can't help it.
I know it, right?
Yeah. So just like, the friendships I think we all have too, it's pretty awesome. And I seen Michelle's in chat. I seen Martin Groves is in chat. Daryl Denton's in chat.
Happy birthday to Michelle.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
I also seen Mark Cryptidville's in chat, and that's
Mark.
War and all of us, it's all of us that
Right. The brotherhood is more of a family than it is anything else. So
absolutely.
it's great to have everyone, and it's great to be able to gather together and have some fellowship and have some fun and do what we like to do. And without Anna, it just would not be the same. So we love you, Anna. We're so glad that you're here with us.
And I feel like I have
Absolutely.
found my tribe because I can actually talk about my experiences and not be told that I'm crazy or be told that I was having nightmares, or just to be quiet and don't talk about things like that, because that's
Right.
what was drilled into my head growing up anytime I had an experience.
Yep. No,
Right,
we're-
right.
All yours for you, Anna. You know
Yeah.
that. You know that's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. We you want to do? We've got about, let's see, 15 minutes before we have to take a 5-minute break. Do you have time to tell us your paranormal
Yeah.
story?
Yeah. I can tell you the.
And then after the break, when we come back, we'll talk about the LBL and some of the things you have found out there, and you and Letitia witnessed. So
Okay. Yeah. So one of the many paranormal events that I have had happen to me through the years. My husband is more on the skeptic side. It's not that he is totally closed-minded, because he's not. He's had to live with me for 36 years, so
Right.
he's
And he's a
heard
great
plenty
guy.
of my
Kevin's a great
stories.
guy.
He's always been fine. He's never made fun of me. He's never talked down to me about it. He's been wonderful about it. But he's just one of those types that he has to see it to believe it kind of people. So all through these years, I would tell him about the things that happened to me. This happened in early to mid 2000s. We had bought a house in Lexington. So it was a brand new built home. A lot of things were happening to us. We were going through all that death. We had all of that death. And we went to sleep. And I woke up and I had a little light on the side of my bed. It was very small. But when I woke up and I looked at the end of the bed, I thought I saw the shape of the Grim Reaper. It was a hooded figure at the end of the bed. And it was just a light outline of it. And I thought, oh, I'm just freaking myself out. There's nothing there. So I turned over. My husband was totally asleep. He was snoring. And all I did was take my hand and place it on his back for comfort as I turned over. The next thing I know, he is kicking the sheets and covers off, and he is standing up out of that bed ready to fight. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And he said, I saw a hooded figure standing at the side of the bed. I was like, nope, lights coming on. Started turning on all the lights in the room. But he was terrified. He said it was a hooded figure, and it had moved, because it was basically at my feet at the end of the bed. And it had moved to his side of the bed when he saw it.
wow.
And like I said, he was asleep. I did not wake him up. I did not say a word to him about what I had seen. I had doubted myself and just turned over. And like I said, the next thing I know, he's kicking and he's getting up ready to fight. He didn't know what it was. But after that experience, he's been a little more open-minded about things that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Did it just disappear, Anna? It was just standing there and then disappeared?
It did disappear. After he popped up out of the bed, it just vanished.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
didn't see it anymore.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't holding a sky.
I
Yeah.
know.
That's one good thing, okay?
But it had a hood, a long robe. You could see the folds of the robes.
And where was this at?
It was in Lexington, in a house that we had bought in a subdivision off of Old Richmond Road. It was close to Jacobson Park, and it was a brand new house. But like I said, it was during that time when we were experiencing a lot of death in the family.
Yeah.
And there were orbs in the house at that time. My oldest daughter, that's when she had a lot of paranormal experiences happening to her.
Yeah.
So there was a lot going on with us paranormal at that time.
Yeah. Was that the only encounter you had with the hooded figure?
Yeah, I have not seen that since. Just that one time.
Wow. Well, that's good.
Well, that is good.
Yeah.
I hope you never see it again. I hope nothing ever
Yeah, I
bothers
don't
you again.
want to see that again.
Right.
No.
Right. So, we all had an encounter, of course, in Tennessee, when we were going to the conference over there, the Bigfoot conference over there.
Yeah.
We got.
Why don't you tell everybody what you heard?
Yeah, that's a good thing to talk about until break.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about what happened to you, because you came down the next morning and immediately told me what happened.
Yeah. I did not have my charger with me to charge my phone. And my phone was sitting, I think, at 53%. So I just set it to the side because I was like, well, I don't have a charger with me. Oh, well. When I got up that morning, it was 99%. Can't explain that. And I had a hairbrush that was down in one of my bags, sitting over on a bench on the other side of the room. And I've heard no.
And you didn't brush your hair or anything.
No, well, I was looking for my hairbrush. That's why I was like, why is it not in my bag? But I hadn't, I didn't brush my hair before I went to bed. But the next morning when I got up to brush my hair, I was like, where's my hairbrush? Now, is it possible my husband grabbed that hairbrush? Maybe, but he had his own. So I don't know why it ended up just random, that one random little piece.
Yeah.
Sitting over across the room in that bedroom.
So
I
let's
didn't hear any footsteps or nothing that night.
Well, let's back up and explain to everybody. We went to the Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg, and all of us here on the screen and several other people, we all rented a house together. And this is where we're talking that what happened in this rented house that we had. And I believe it was brought by Brandy.
Yeah.
We believe it was my friend because it sounds like something that it would do, period. Sounds like something it would do. Now, Anna, explain to us about your glasses, because this is something that my thing would do.
I'm trying to remember about my glasses. I don't remember the glasses part. I remember my brush and my phone.
Well, you took your glasses off and you went to put them in your little, was it your little purse next to the bed?
Yeah.
And then they were on the dresser the next morning. Wasn't that it? They were on the dresser. I can't remember about the glasses. I was too freaked out about my phone charging without being charged.
Right. No, the glasses were the ones that appeared in the bag. Okay. Your hairbrush is the one that turned up on that bench thing.
Yeah.
Your phone went from 50% to over 90%.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't hear any walking around.
No, I did not get up because you guys know that after I've done a day of walking, my ankles swell so bad that once I get in the bed, I'm down. I don't get up and down. It's too hard for me to get up and down, and it hurts. And my husband, he has a sleep apnea, so he has the breathing machine, and CPAP. So he doesn't really get up too much. Neither one of us got up that night. But we heard no footsteps, no walking around, nothing.
But it's funny because the people that were sleeping in the room next to us, to me and Krista, were saying that they were hearing people walk around all night long.
Yeah,
we were right across the hall from them, and I don't remember hearing anything that night.
No, it wasn't. We didn't hear anything, and those were wooden floors too.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any problems at all that night. Me and Letitia and Brother Daryl, we was like
I actually slept good in that house.
I still say
I didn't have any.
We had. Well, Krista and I had one thing is we were both in the room and we were talking. We were going to, get our pajamas on, brush our teeth, whatever. And all of a sudden we heard this big bang in the corner. Well, there's nothing in the corner to bang.
Yeah.
And everybody else was, I don't know, out in the kitchen area. So there's nobody in the rooms and the bathrooms. There was nothing, nobody around us. And we heard that big bang and we're like, oh, okay. And that's the last thing we heard. And that was in the very beginning.
Well, so what was living in those little closets all through the house?
Well, yeah, because I was making fun because there's this little cabinet that was under the stairs, and I was kidding about Harry Potter, and Harry Potter might be locked under there, and that's when everything started. It really did start.
We had one in our room, and then one in their room, right beside your bed.
Yes.
I remember what we was looking for and was like, oh, there's no little closets in here, and was like, Oh, it's right beside your bed. So there is no telling what was in there.
Yeah. Yep.
I believe Brandy brought it because Brandy likes to bring ghosts.
Yeah,
I do. You know,
Waiting on you, Hollywood.
gotta make it interesting. Gotta make it interesting.
For sure.
You know,
real
I
quick,
mean,
I
but-
want to answer Kevin's question. He asked if we're going to Gatlinburg in 2024. I don't believe that is on our agenda this year. We did last year. It was fun. It was a great time. However, we want to concentrate on other things. So the only three conferences Brandy and I are doing is the Kling Brothers in January, the Alabama Bigfoot Conference, and then the Dogman Conference. I believe that's going to be at the end of September. So what about you, Bart? What ones are you planning on doing?
You're our manager.
Yeah.
It's like, Krista, you can tell us. Why not?
So Bart won't be there either.
No.
The thing I have on my calendar is the Alabama conference, and likely will be the only one that I do.
Unless our manager schedules something for us, Krista.
You never know.
Right. Well, I mean, they, you know, as much as we love doing them.
Yeah, well, no, I hate speaking publicly, actually. But I hate driving and I hate riding. After 30 minutes in the car, my body's screaming to get out. And that trip to Gatlinburg for me and Brother Darrell was just terrible. The GPS, of course, took us way off target. And we were going up and down the side of the mountains, and I didn't know where the heck we were. And it was like, it's supposed to be a 6-hour trip. I think it was like 8 hours before we ever saw a sign that said Gatlinburg. I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. But yeah, I don't like riding, and I definitely will never fly again. And I'm going to stick to my word this time. I broke it for Brother Josh. Josh I got on a plane, and me and Letitia flew down to Texas, and we flew back, and that's it for me.
I hear you. Well, we're at the 52-minute mark, and we do have to take a 5-minute break. So don't go anywhere, everybody. Get your drink, go to the bathroom, do what you do, and stick with us. We'll be right back in 5 minutes, and then we're going to talk about the land between the lakes, because Anna has she's been all over that place. So we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
And while we're gone, please take a moment to hit that like button. You guys don't understand how much it helps a YouTube channel. So please hit the like button.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hey, everybody.
Well, we're back.
Sticking around with us. We appreciate everybody. I notice everybody in chat's talking about flying, and you know what? I'm with Bart. I don't fly. I haven't flown since I was 15 years old. I have no desire to do it. I'm like Gary Sykes. He said, I'll drive across the country before I fly. Amen.
Yeah. If God wanted me to fly, he'd give me butterfly wings or something.
That's right.
I'm
That's
not,
right.
not going back up in that area anymore.
Well, we
Yep,
kind of
I agree.
His first flight, the flight attendant was brand new. It was her first full
Pilot.
crew.
The pilot too.
Her first full crew on all by herself, and the landing was just a little rough. I have to admit, I had warned him how when you come down, because I used to fly all the time. It's nothing to me to fly, and I was warning him how it was going to kind of bounce, kind of slow down. Well, hers was like we hit and we stopped, and everybody's stuff went flying forward.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I said, okay, that's it. That's enough for me. I'm done.
So
Where did you fly into?
we flew into Dallas Fort Worth.
That's why. Okay. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's where we flew in.
For the first and last time, I might add.
So now me getting him on an airplane to go somewhere with me is impossible now. He won't do it. He's
Yeah.
like,
I'm with Bart.
Sorry,
I
baby.
won't do it either. If
We
I
wanna
can't
go to
drive, I'm
Ireland.
not going.
We want to go so many places, but you have to fly to get there. So we probably never go. We'd love to see Ireland and Scotland. That's been sort of a dream for us, but I don't think we'll ever reach it unless we can travel there by boat.
I mean, unless we can go on a cruise.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
And those cruises, there all kinds of troubles on those things.
Right. Real quick, too.
Yeah, right.
Anna is wanting to grow her channel, and she has Jonestead
Yes.
Farm, and I'm dropping the link in the chat. And if everybody would give her some love and subscribe
do.
to her channel, and it's also in the description of this show also. So if
Yes,
everybody could
please.
do that, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, she has a great channel. Her and Michelle Johns, they like to get together and go exploring these remote forests and abandoned homesteads and stuff like that. Really interested in. Michelle Johns has a channel too called Tales from the Narc Side.
Mhm.
Check that out too. Give these fine ladies some support. We really would appreciate that.
So you're like what we call nowadays urban explorers.
Yeah, Michelle loves to do that.
She does that a lot alone too, I see.
Yeah.
She does. She freaks me out going by herself to some of these places, but
Yeah.
she is she's brave. I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I would not be able to walk, some of the places that she's able to get into, but she loves doing it. She just loves it.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's very brave also, almost to a fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
always advise people never to do stuff like that alone, but some people just won't listen.
Yeah.
She's hard headed. She's not listening.
Yes.
Let's
She's just a wonderful lady.
Yes. What let's talk about what got you interested in the LBL. Was it yourself or was it Bart?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
I had actually been to the LBL a couple of times years ago, but it was just for like spring break vacations with kids. We stayed at Lake Barkley. But I also knew Jan Thompson way back in the day, and I had actually planned a trip to go meet up with her at the LBL in October of 2007. But the week that I was supposed to go down there, Kevin's sister that actually survived that accident, she actually passed away that week. So I had to call that trip off, and I never did get back with Jan to reschedule that. And I so regret not doing that. But when I had been down there, I didn't know where I was going. Plus, I had my kids with me who were younger. So we just, stayed on the course of taking the kids to the typical places you do for spring break activities.
Right.
But last year, when Michelle and I decided to go, it was for the first Dogman Conference in Paris, Tennessee. And I was bound and determined to go because Bart had finally decided to speak at a conference. And I was like, I'm going. I'm going to go to that one. I had texted him through the years, not texted, but emailed with him through the years. He was like, oh, won't you come to Scarefest? No. It was just no.
No.
So when I found out
I don't think I was quite so abrupt with you, Anna.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, all that stuff's not really me, but I do it for my friends and to support my friends, and I'll be doing it at least one more time. So,
well, I love it because he tells the truth.
Well, thank you so much. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to tell the truth and support my friends and family and all my wolf sisters. Look at all these beautiful women here tonight. Barton,
he's got all his sisters in the house.
Yep, all the sisters.
Yeah. So when I found out he was going to do the Dogman Conference, I called Michelle up and I was like, hey, they're doing a Dogman Conference and my friend Bart is going to be speaking there. Do you want to go? She's like, heck yeah. So it was a little bit late when we decided that we were going to be able to go, and we did try to get a hotel room, but they were all booked. I think there was a state park that was open, but my goodness, it was like $200 a night. And we were like, nope, we can't afford that. And she has all of the camping gear, so we decided to just camp. And she's real familiar with different campgrounds and what backcountry means and what, all those different types of campgrounds. So she was the one that picked out Boswell Landing. And we tent camped at Boswell Landing. We came down on a Friday, and we just had a crazy experience that weekend that we absolutely did not expect whatsoever. It was a full moon that weekend. There was also a meteor shower that weekend. And I slept in the back of Michelle's Jeep. She put up her tent. She slept in her tent. And there is a graveyard directly where our campsite was, directly across from it. It's just a little road that you come in on Boswell. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we pulled into the campground, it was right at sunset. And she saw red lights over there in the cemetery.
Wow.
As soon as we pulled in and parked. And later that night was when we had our big experience with, I can't call it a classic Bigfoot sighting. All I can say is that Michelle was over in the cemetery. She was taking pictures and she was doing some video. She had a headlamp. She was wearing her headlamp. I stayed at the campsite because it was dark by that time. I did not have a headlamp with me. So I did not want to go walking. I was like, the last thing we need is for me to fall. So I stayed at the picnic table and watched her. And while I sat at that picnic table, we all know how dark it is in the LBL when the sun goes down. It is just dark. And I saw a very tall figure at the edge of the wood line. And it was the exact shape of what you would think of as a Bigfoot. It had the cone head, the large shoulders. It was black though. It was like I was looking at one of those metal cutouts, but it was facing me.
Wow.
So I stayed at the picnic table and I was sitting at kind of an angle to where I could see it in my peripheral vision instead of looking straight at it, and kind of keep my eye on Michelle over in the cemetery. Because for me, I felt like if I give that attention, it may act up more. That's the way I felt.
Right.
So I tried not to look straight at it, but I could see, and it was very still. So then I started doubting myself. I'm like, oh, I'm out here in the woods. I haven't tent camped in years and years. I'm just scaring myself.
Right.
So as Michelle came walking back and her headlamp, she came walking across that little road, and the thing turned its head towards her and like took a step. And about that time, her headlamp swooped across that area and there was nothing there.
Wow.
And she had taken pictures while she was in the cemetery. And so when she came back over, I didn't say anything because I'm also the type of person that feels like if you talk about it, it may give it a little bit more energy to manifest itself, you know. So I didn't want to, we were already scared. So I didn't add to it. I just kind of kept quiet. She brought her camera over. We started looking through her pictures, and she got some crazy pictures. One of them truly looked like the face of a dog, canine, a dog man, peeking from behind a tree, but it was like half of its face, so you could just see the one eye shine and the big ear, shoulder. It looked like it had the claw hand on that tree, and it was clear. You could see it. We saw the eye shine in the picture. That's what stood out, and we blew it up, and we could see that outline of that head that was very canine.
No, thank you.
There was orbs too. There was this orb that had faces in it, and that was crazy. So we looked through these pictures, and we were like, what in the world is going on? We just came down here to go to a conference.
Right.
We did not expect anything to happen. And so she set the phone down for about 15 minutes, and we tried to get a fire going because we forgot firewood. So we had collected as many little branches as we could. And we were trying to keep that going because now we were really freaked out.
Right.
Right.
Right. So I know when you guys go and camp, you know, a lot of times Michelle stays in the tent and you sleep in the car.
Yeah, I sleep in the back of the Jeep. Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
Is that how it was that night?
Yes.
Okay.
And when we went back to look through those pictures, the two pictures that had the dog man shape in it and those orbs had gone blurry, but the rest of them were still crystal clear.
Wow.
And then the next day when she got, on Sunday or Monday when she got home, she lost all those pictures. She had to go into the cloud to retrieve them.
Wow.
And that has happened to her multiple times when she takes pictures at paranormal hotspots. They just disappeared on her.
Wow.
So it was crazy. She was able to pull those pictures back, but like I said, those two were blurry. And that just is so frustrating when you catch something.
Sure.
And then that happens. And I think it's on purpose.
Yeah.
They don't want you to see.
Right. Could very well be.
Or they didn't want to have any evidence.
So before you went that night, did you know like Martin Groves' story and the 82 killings and all that?
I did know about the 82 killings because I had been friends with Jan Thompson. So I did know about that, but you know, that was at the north end on the Kentucky side.
Right.
And we were down on the Tennessee side, and I hadn't heard about anything about Roswell Landing, nothing about down in that area. But we have learned a whole lot since then.
Right, absolutely. Wow.
A whole lot.
And then I guess you just kept wanting to go back?
Yes, after that, it was kind of like, it just draws you back.
It's true.
It does.
almost like you can never really leave the LBL.
Yeah, very true.
And
Very true.
Most of the time we've gone back, something has happened. We've caught something, heard something, seen something. There's just so much stuff in there.
Yeah. There's 237 cemeteries at the LBL, so there's a lot of, weirdness there.
Right.
Yeah, to me, that place is just one gigantic cemetery. That's the way I look at the LBL.
It is. It truly is. It truly is. We so let's fast forward to May of this year.
Okay.
And that was an exciting weekend.
It was.
We I'll just let you guys, you and Letitia, you guys can tell that story. It was your encounter.
All righty. I'll talk, Letitia, so you can hold your voice. I know you're coughing and you don't feel good.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get over this sickness.
Jump in anytime if you want. It was early May.
Yeah.
It was a full moon weekend. We were at our campsite. Everybody was there. Late, I'm thinking probably 10, 11-ish area. And we decided to head out. So me, Michelle in her Jeep, she was driving, and Letitia, we all hopped in together and headed out. And War Criminal and Elijah and Gabby followed. We all headed down the trace that night. And we saw the moon, bright, orange, red, neon.
Huge.
We saw it. We all gasped at the same time. We kind of come around a curve, and here was this huge orange neon moon. We all went, oh, like literally at the same time. And it was beautiful and weird at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And as we drove down the trace, there was a beaver that ran out in the road in front of us, and Michelle had to slam on her brakes to not hit it. There were deer everywhere. I have never seen that many deer out before. I mean, herds of them on the side of the road.
On the side of the road.
Yeah. We saw all kinds of animals out that night, and it was like they were drawn to the trace. They were being fleshed out almost, is what it felt like.
And if people don't know what the trace is, it's the main road through the LBL. It's a blacktop road, and it goes north to south. I guess it's north to south, right?
The whole park, yes.
Yeah. So
another thing I'd like to add, Martin Groves and I were at camp while you girls went out and War Criminal 7, and we had almost a full moon, but it was nothing.
Brandy was there.
And Brandy was there too, and the moon never changed. It was just almost a full moon, and it was the regular color, and it never changed at all. So the people at camp never saw this huge orange blood moon that you guys saw.
No.
Yeah.
Which is so weird to me.
It was weird.
Because, and here's the thing, we would have noticed it because Martin Groves pointed out how big and bright the moon was, if you remember, and we all looked at it there at camp. It was not red or nothing like that. I can't explain that. That's just weird.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was bright and beautiful, and that's what we were looking at, but it wasn't. It was just that pale yellow kind of look to it. There wasn't anything orange about it.
Right. It was small size. It wasn't big, like the girls described it.
Right. Well, I mean, Anna's correct. We all at the same time was like, whoa, just the shock of how big and how bright and how eerie and beautiful it was all at the same time. It was incredible. As a matter of fact, I think you get your phone out to take a picture, and then we went behind the trees or something happened and you didn't get the picture, or maybe you did get it.
Pictures, but the moon was so far away that you really couldn't tell a whole lot about it.
Right.
I guess the camera on the phone isn't all that great, but I did get a couple of shots. It was just the moon was so far away in the pictures you really couldn't tell a lot about it.
I hate that about these phones, because I've wanted to take pictures of the moon several times, and it'd be big and pretty and really, really bright and visible. And I'd get my phone out to take a picture, and this tiny little dot in that lens. I'm like,
Yes, that's the way it was with mine.
frustrating.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was annoyed because I was like, my gosh, seeing it with our own eyes, it was huge and it was neon orange, almost red. The clouds around it were like illuminated with that color too.
Yeah.
So I did snap a couple pictures. It just, like Bart said, it was just like a little dot in there and you couldn't really tell.
Right.
But as we headed down the trace, because we were going towards the Tennessee side, because we wanted to go to Boswell Landing, where we had Michelle and I had our experience. And I could have sworn, and I think Letitia will back me up on this, we saw something laying by the guardrail on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to Boswell and parked. All of us, War Criminal, Elijah and Gabby, all of us got out and we checked that place out a little bit. And I think War Criminal needed to go get gas. So him and Gabby and Elijah left to go to Dover, I think it was, so that he could get some gas. And then we were done at Boswell Landing and hopped in the car and drove back, coming back up to camp. And as we were coming up the trace, we had our windows partially down, not all the way, but partially down. And I remember hearing a whoop in the woods. And I was like, oh my gosh, did you all hear that? Because that was my first experience audibly hearing the whoop that you know is from Bigfoot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I heard one. And then I think we heard a wolf howl after that. And we were like, whoa, what is going on?
Right.
And more deer. And then I think we saw an owl fly by. I think there was a bat that flew by.
Right.
But we were able to recognize immediately what those were.
Right.
So as we came up the trace by that guardrail, we saw laser red eyes. That's what caught my attention. Those red laser eyes. And this thing looked like it was crouched a little bit, focused on those red laser eyes. And we were like, what is that? So Michelle let off the gas. And this thing stretched up. It had a slim body, a round head. All of a sudden, I mean, it looked like it was staring right at us. Like it intently was looking at us.
Like it waited for us to come back.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that's what we seen going down. We just didn't realize we was looking at anything going down.
That's what I think too. Yeah. And it kind of unfurled those wings, and they did not have feathers. They looked like bat wings. And all of a sudden the wings did not flap, and all of a sudden it twisted up and was gone.
It was gone.
It twisted its body. It didn't flap its wings at all. And like zoom, it was gone.
It was like it got sucked up in a vacuum cleaner. That's the only way, excuse me, I can describe it. It was just the wings opened and it just whooshed away. There's no other way to describe it. It just was gone.
Yeah. Well, I know when you guys came back to camp, we were all sitting there and you guys got out and you were excited. And I'll never forget Letitia recreating the swoop. And we were like, what? And you guys were like,
she kept doing this.
Because that's the only way you could describe it. I mean, literally, it was just like, it was just whooshed away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And you guys were so excited. And honestly, we were excited for you because I'm like, oh man, and the only way you all three said the only way you could describe it was like a Mothman creature.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a mini Mothman.
Yeah.
But the wings were so huge. I mean, like we figured 5.5 foot wingspan.
Yeah.
Bart's like, that's awful big, honey. I'm like, it was awful big. The wings were so huge.
But the
was
thing
in
itself stood only less than 20 inches
right,
tall.
right.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is too, like, like the wingspan, for it to be a bat. We even said that. Okay, maybe it was a bat, but then there's not bats that big in Kentucky.
And it
Wow.
would have flapped its wings to go somewhere.
And bats don't usually take off of the ground.
So, real quick question, ladies. Corey Cole asked, "Did you notice it squat before it propelled itself?"
No.
No.
Wow.
It just opened its wings and was gone. I mean, I didn't even see no legs.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Right? And then War Criminal 7 and Gabby and Elijah came back and they actually saw the beast.
Yeah.
So, and we were all like, "What? Are y'all kidding?" All this happens at the night that we decide to stay in camp. And so, of course, we moved
I know,
out
right?
in vehicles
Because Chris and I were sitting here and we're, first we have the girls, they come back, they tell us the
Yeah.
story, and then, War comes back with Elijah and Gabby, and Krista and I are like, what do you mean we stayed here?
Right.
just
Right.
like that, right?
Yeah, that was definitely an incredible night, because I can still hear Gabby in my head when she got out. And
Yeah.
she said
That was the
"You
very
just saw
first
the
and last
beast."
time I stayed at camp. I won't do it anymore.
what she
Nope.
said,
So we saw the beast.
we saw the beast. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
saw the beast.
That night also, War Criminal and Gabby and Elijah saw snakes all over the road that night. We never saw a single snake.
You never seen a snake. They did
And
see
we
the
all
beaver
left
because
at
they
the
got
same
out and videotaped it.
Mhm.
But they said they saw all those snakes and we never seen a single snake. So, and they were right behind us.
Yep.
Right behind us until they stopped to video the beaver, and then they got a little bit behind us.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like we drove into a different dimension or something that night as we headed
It
to
was crazy.
And do you guys remember any missing time or anything like that? Maybe?
No,
Mm-mm.
I don't.
I don't remember any missing time.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
I don't either.
Well, you were stuck back with the rest of us at camp. We missed out on the fun part.
I remember everything. Plain as
Right?
day.
Yeah, all I know is I'm a little jealous that we didn't go.
Yeah.
So
We should have left Bart and the guys babysitting our girls, and we should have went with y'all.
Right.
Right. Well, I was there with Martin and Sheila, and
Yeah.
and I didn't want everybody to think that I was a bad host and leave them there at camp. And so
Martin has a
I
good
wouldn't
point.
change anything. I'd love to see the beast and whatever it was you guys saw down there, but I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, me.
A lot of people ask about the bat and how it didn't flap to fly away or anything. But I don't know if there's even bats that can come off of the ground the way this thing did. I thought that bats had to fall out of the trees or from wherever they're perched. I thought they had to fall
not
to
sure.
fly. I don't know that they can actually come off the ground.
I don't know.
The way this thing.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Have to look that up probably.
So Martin Groves makes a good comment here. When all the critters run towards the trace, it means Bigfoot and Dogmen are on the hunt. And then we have another question here. And Bart, you're probably the best person to explain this. What is the beast?
Well, the beast is a dog man, to put it simply. It looks like a Bigfoot with a wolf's head.
I believe
and
Krista's got
canine
the
legs. Yeah.
shirt on tonight, don't you, Krista?
I do. And I can put it up there if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
This is the beast of the LBL.
Now that's the beast that I drew for Jan Thompson back in 2007.
Okay.
Also, Roger LBL says it looks exactly like the one that he encountered
Mm-hmm.
back
Wow.
when he had his encounter. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what it looks like. But that's not the only thing in LBL. There's a lot of different beasts in LBL, and that the dog man's only one of them. But
Yeah.
that's typically what everyone thinks of when they hear the beast of LBL. They think of that picture, and it's been used thousands and thousands of times on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's known worldwide as the Portrait of the Beast of LBL.
Yeah. Spill and Tea says they saw it and it didn't try to hurt them. So the deal was they were actually in War Criminal 7's truck, and they saw it as they were driving. And my memory is not the greatest on this. I would have to go back.
It was running. It was running off from them.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually spider crawling across the road right in front of them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without moving its elbows. And, I don't know if everybody's familiar with this spider crawl deal, but it's really, really bizarre. It's like they stretch out their arms to their sides and they use their fingers and toes only to move. And they move very swiftly like that. It's really, really quite odd.
Do you think they do that to eliminate sound?
Well, I mean, why would they want to?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they need to?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Personally, why didn't it just wait till the car went by to cross the road? You see, everyone thinks these things are so shy and retiring, and they don't want to be seen. But it's actually the opposite is true. If they didn't want to be seen, they would never be seen. The LBL is so big; it's 170,000 acres of prime woodland, mostly except for the campgrounds. And there's things in there, and it's so big and woodsy and dark that if it didn't want to be seen, it never would. That's the bottom line. You cannot justify any other opinion on that.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to be seen, or they would not be seen. Same way with Bigfoot.
Sure.
Everybody thinks that it's a shy creature that doesn't want to be known and everything. Every time you hear anything that starts about Bigfoot, always starts out deep in the remote forests of America. No, it's not. They're not deep in the remote forests of America. They are around people. They're wherever people are at. Now think about it. If they weren't, they would never be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Across the road.
Right.
Yep.
Across the road, right in front of their vehicle.
Yeah. And I think if I remember correctly, like war stopped or something. Didn't Elijah step out? I think.
Actually, Elijah never saw it. It was only
he did not see it, but he stepped out to look or something after War and Gabby seen it. Correct?
I'm not sure. You have to War's in
chat. He can answer that.
Yeah. So Corey Cole says, "I've heard they can spider crawl faster than we can run."
Yes, it's really quite bizarre to listen to someone describe these creatures doing that, and I've taken a few reports of Bigfoot doing that as well. So these things are something else. No animal can move like that. They just don't. Well, animals don't have fingers like we do and toes, but it's just really, if you can picture it in your mind, it's like laying down flat on the road and putting your arms out at your side, straight out, and picking yourself up with your fingers and toes and moving that way. So it's not a normal type of ambulation. It's just totally strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think War said something about it reminded him of somebody just like floating across, like it was just floating, like its feet were not even touching.
Or there's no movement of its legs and its arms.
Yeah. Okay. So War says we stopped, and I told Elijah to blow the death whistle. He did not get out of the truck.
Okay.
He blew the death whistle.
I remember.
Yeah.
I was still reeling from the Mothman. So.
Yeah.
Right. And Randy and Krista, we were reeling from everybody that was coming back into camp and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is what happened." And it was like, wow, all this stuff happened in one night to like 5 different people.
Yeah.
And, well, you can't count Elijah because he didn't see it, but yeah, it was so strange,
Right. It really was. It really was.
But
Let's
this
fast forward to
100 times, and just that one time you're not ready for anything, that's when something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Let's fast forward to this last trip. And we tent camped, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't hear it, which is kind of weird. I think Anna and Letitia, you guys heard it. I got up to use the restroom where we camped. There was a bathhouse right across from us. So I got up to go to the restroom. And you guys, what did you guys hear?
It came from the edge of the woods, sounded like to me. And it was like how do I explain it? A growl scream, kind of like. It was very weird. I heard it, which we were all laying in the tent except for you, Krista, when you went to the bathroom. And I heard that, and I kind of, and was listening to see if it would do it again. And Letitia says, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I heard that." But it didn't do it again. It just did it that one time.
Right, and Larry Fisher and we were returning from Dover. He went down there to get gas, but every place was closed. And so Letitia called me and told me what happened, and I rushed over there, but there was nothing there.
Yeah, because Krista was in the bathroom, and as a rule, none of us ever go to the bathroom alone. That's just the way we are at camp. That night, it was so cold. I was sick. I was so sick that night. Still can't explain that. But I remember hollering for Krista, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because I just knew something was out there. And I called him. I called Bart, hurry back, we need you. There's something I needed that I didn't have in the tent with me. And we needed him to hurry up and get back. So they got back pretty quick. And I think they walked the wood line and they never seen anything. But there was definitely something that howl/screamed, however you want to. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah.
Well, Cryptidville Mark says that night I stayed there by myself. There was something across the road in the woods. I never saw it, but I could feel it. And that was a previous night.
Friday night.
Yeah, that was Friday night. So
Right, we actually got Brother Mark to stay all night down there in the LBL, which is something that he don't usually do.
Yeah,
we were glad to have him.
Yeah, and that was the night, that Friday night, we went to that bad cemetery.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah, Downs 2 was that one.
Yeah. Yep. So it was just, I mean, it's like, no, that wasn't something major that happened to us that weekend. However, there's always something little every time you're at the LBL, that you hear or something.
Well, the night before when we all went out to the woods to, search those barns and stuff, how we got turned around and came out in a completely wrong spot that we should have came out. We came out where we started, and we should have been on the other side of the field, the way that we was walking. And then I got lost. I couldn't find Bart anywhere. It's like he disappeared into a time warp somewhere. I could only see Michelle's flashlight. I could see the reflectors. So I was like, do I go look for Bart, which is in the woods alone, or do I stay up close to the barn and wait and maybe he'll come around the barn? He never did come around the barn. Everybody's telling me he's hollering for me. I never hear him holler for me. Yeah, everybody says he's hollering for me. We was doing a live. Yep. So I just followed the reflectors and I walked through the field. Well, whenever we all got back together and we was leaving is when I told you we got in the car. I didn't feel so well. I never really put it together until I think me and you was talking one night, Krista. Do you remember I picked up that pole in the field and threw it down in that hole?
You sure did.
I'm still wondering if I didn't pick something up whenever I dropped that pole down in that hole to see how deep it was.
You could have, because so you're right on that, on getting turned around. Now, Anna, you and War Criminal were kind of, you guys were at the vehicles.
Yeah, well, we stayed down at the barn because when I started walking through that field, the grass was kind of high and it was dark. It was like, I can't traverse that very well in the dark. Right. So we stayed at that first barn that you guys went to, and we stayed down there for a little while we were at that barn, and you guys were over at the silos. War Criminal was like, I'm seeing orbs, and we were not listening to your all's live at the time because we didn't want our phones to die. Our batteries were low. But you all on the live said, we're seeing orbs. Well, then a few minutes later, when me and War are standing there, we heard a whistle. And then you all mentioned hearing a whistle that night too. And it was a little bit after that, me and War Criminal walked back up to the truck because we saw y'all were getting ready to come back. But we did see people kind of separating out. And I guess that's where Letitia wasn't able to find Bart. And I think, Christy, you came up a different way, coming up through the
It was
field.
weird because where we came out of the woods during the live was not where I thought we were supposed to come out of.
Me
Me
neither.
neither, yeah. So we went into there was a silo on the left, a barn in the middle, and a silo on the right. And we went into the woods behind the barn in the middle and went right. So we should have come out by the silo on the right, but we came out by the silo on the left.
Right.
And I started walking. I'm like, what in the world? I think I've turned around or something. That silo shouldn't be there. We should be on the right-hand side of that barn, but we were actually on the left, so I can't explain that. It's just another weird occurrence. And, lots of weird things happen down there. When Brother Martin and Brother Daryl and I was down there for a couple of days with Ron Moorhead, we had a lot of Bigfoot activity. All 3 nights that we were there, we were next to a creek there in Wrangler's Campground, and they were running up and down that creek just all night long, and we never saw them, of course, but that could be because of they have the ability to be invisible. So I know that a lot of people can't understand that or accept that, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
So, but they were up and down that creek all night long, and it really kept me up till 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
Was it a dry creek bed?
yes.
See, when Brandy and I had our encounter here in Missouri, it was a dry creek bed that they were coming out of. I don't know.
Well, there were rocks in the creek, and the next day we found 2 broken saplings and a bunch of bent over saplings that were bent all the way to the ground, and everybody was saying, well, it could have been a horse. You're at Wrangler's Campground. Well, no, it couldn't have been a horse, because I looked down that creek and didn't see anything, and a horse would not stay in the same spot all night long. Also, a horse's hooves would have made indentions in that creek bed, especially if it was falling down the side, breaking little trees and stuff like that. So it definitely wasn't a horse.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I don't know for sure, but the very last night, me and Martin were there, we saw something. We've been out for 2 or 3 hours in these remote locations, looking for things, and we'd given up, and we'd coming back and turning into the actual Wrangler's Campground, leading up to the check-in station. We saw something step up into the woods to the right, and honestly, I don't know what it was. It was black and tan. It definitely wasn't a deer. Well, I thought it was a deer at first. I only saw the one leg going up into the woods, but Brother Martin saw it a little bit better than me, but it definitely wasn't a deer. So I can't say exactly what it was, only it was something strange.
Yeah.
And we were laying in there. I think it was the last night that we were there, and something slapped the floor. I mean, really loud. And it sounded like it came from the middle of the floor. And I raised up. I said, what in the world was that? I think Martin was beginning to stir, but I just took for granted that something had fallen off one of the upper bunk beds and smashed into the floor. It just sounded like he'd take a wooden handled broom and just slam it down on the concrete floor really hard. That's what it sounded like. But the next day I got up and there was nothing that had fallen off the bed. So
Right.
I don't know what was going on, but that was a weird, definitely weird sound.
Wasn't there like
Martin Grove says
Martin saw a shadow walk across the window, and so did Daryl saw a shadow walk across the front porch window.
Well, Martin says, I witnessed 2 Bigfoot and 1 Dogman. The Bigfoot stood behind my window over 8 foot, 1 adult, 1 juvenile. And then he also says, at you, Daryl was laying across from him in the bunk and just raised up and said there's 2 of them.
Unfortunately, Ron Moorhead, Indiana, we call him Indy. Unfortunately, he was asleep and slept through it all. And we didn't want to wake him up, He's such a good guy.
Yeah. I don't know though. That'd have been worth somebody waking up for. I'm telling you, if we're ever in the cabin again and something like that's happening, you better wake me up.
Well,
I'd wake
will.
up Ron.
We
I'd be
will.
like, Ron, hey,
Well, Daryl,
tell me
Daryl
what
and I
this
even got-
is.
So I woke Daryl up that first night, and it's really the first time I've ever been even nervous in the LBL. I've been going down there forever. Me and Letitia's even camped on the alleged attack site, the 82 attack site, a couple of times, and without any weapons at all. And we're grilling steaks and frying bacon, and nothing's happening. But I never got a bad feeling there until that night, and all the noise started coming from that creek. And I looked down there, couldn't see anything, and it happened again. And I thought, man, I better get up on the porch with the porch light. And it's actually the very first time I ever drew Nightmare out of its scabbard. But I did take it out and walk around the cabin, around back to see if I could see anything. I didn't see anything, but yeah, it's. I tell you that LBL is something else, and I can't wait to get back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm all ready to go back.
Yeah.
I am too.
And Michelle and I found that print in March when we were down there.
Yep, you sure did.
Yeah, sure did. It
Yeah.
was a good print too.
And
And
it
it
was-
random gravel road to go down. Ended up going to one of the cemeteries, which of course, I mean, there's so many down there, you can't bypass.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
Let me
we-
see if I can find that print real quick. I know I've got it on the computer because I just got to find it.
And there was
There it
another
is.
print that we found when we were there in September. Me and Michelle were with Mark and War Criminal, and we were walking an area, and Mark spotted it first, and it was in like it was a blacktopped road with some moss, and there was a print in that.
Wow.
So that was another one that was spotted while we were all together out looking for stuff.
I'm going
that
to
was
show
a-
you a picture, Anna, real quick. What cemetery was this found? Do you want to talk about the backstory real quick?
Yeah, it was Sunday. It was in March. Michelle and I had packed all of our camping gear up, and we were heading out. Typically, when we leave on Sunday, as we're heading out down the trace, we'll say, "Oh, let's pick a road. Let's just go down and one last little road to check out." And that's what we did. Randomly picked one. Ended up at, I think it was Paradise Cemetery, I believe it was. And she got out. My ankle was bothering me, so I stayed in the car. She's videotaping and looking at this fence, and the fence was bent. This is a chain link fence. It was put there, I think, in 1970, 71, because it has a little tag on the fence telling you. And the top bar of those chain link fences are very thick. They're very heavy, and it was bent in and tore apart. And the bottom of that chain link had been pushed up, and she saw that, and she came back to the car and got me. She said, "You got to come look at this." So I came back, and we're looking at this fence trying to figure it out. And if it had been a tree that had fallen there, because you can see in that picture right now, there is no bark, there are no tree limbs, no little pieces of tree, nothing. So if a tree had fallen and they had come over there to saw it up and take it off, you would have seen something of a tree. And there was nothing. So we're looking up and down this fence line, and she's seeing these smaller tracks, and we weren't sure what they were. And then all of a sudden, bam, right in front of my face, there was that huge print. And Michelle, it's on her channel because she videotaped it, Tales from the Narc Side. She has it where we actually found it, where we're looking. And I stuck my shoe up there for size comparison, and I'm wearing an 8.5. You can't see it real good in that picture, but I have a walking stick that I use, and I put that walking stick at the heel, at the back of that heel, tried to line my heel up with it, and it was huge. You could see the toes, and there was another partial print a couple of feet above that, but it was just a partial one. You could see some toes. Other than that, those were the only prints that were there. But it was right there where that fence had been broken. Eventually,
Wow.
after looking at the whole scene, to me, it looked like something had come out of that woods, put its hand on that top heavy railing, pushed down on it, busted that top to climb over, probably just stepped over,
Yeah.
and pushed the bottom of that chain link fence up.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
The print was right there. Both of those prints that we found were right there.
Wow. That's crazy. There's
Yeah,
a couple
Martin Rivera's
questions
found
here.
prints down there too. I've never found any prints there myself, but and to all the ladies that are in the chat tonight and they want to go to LBL but they're scared. I just have to say I've never let anyone get hurt while they're with me. All the years we've been going down there, no one's ever gotten hurt except for last spring when Brother Daryl broke Martin Grove's leg sitting at the campfire.
Sitting at the campfire.
Yeah.
And we were talking about something.
Yeah, something I don't like to talk about. And
Yeah.
but that's
We were talking about something we should have been talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
And it happened so fast. So
True story. It was
Yeah.
actually, if y'all go back to Bart's channel and you watch his interview with Martin Groves, and it's around the campfire, it was that evening. And can't really explain that, but
Yeah, well, Brother Daryl had put a big log on the fire. He was tending the fire while we were filming and all that, and it was way too big to fit there, so he just laid it across, and Martin was sitting beside the fire. You know, it was pretty cold, and the log rolled off the fire onto Brother Martin's leg and fractured his leg. So, but you know, we're through the woods and the creeks and everything. No one's ever got even so much as a scratch, other than the ticks and chiggers and all that. But it's kind of sad that we were sitting around the campfire and Martin gets his leg broke.
right.
How ironic is that?
Sherry Griffey asked, can you describe the sound of the whistle? And that was when we were down there doing the live at the homestead.
Now, to me, what I heard, because I think you guys heard a whistle too, didn't you, that night?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a one note. It didn't last a long time. Typical whistle. It sounded like it came from the tree line across the parking lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it didn't last a long time. It wasn't extremely loud, but we did hear, it was just that one time. We just heard it once.
I believe that's what it was up there at the woods by the sallow. It was after we came out of the barn, I believe, wasn't it, Krista? When we heard the whistle in the woods.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you guys were in the barn, and then
Larry.
and my friend Kelly was there with me, also with us, and she and I were standing outside, and we could hear things going on in the woods, movement. And when you guys come out, I said something to you guys, and then we headed that direction, if you remember.
Looking for whatever it was that made the sound.
Yeah.
And that's when we got all twisted and turned around.
Yeah.
I knew exactly where we was headed because I remember saying out loud, we're headed straight to that little creek back here. So when we're walking straight to that creek. Bart thinks he's seen something over here, which I don't remember what it ended up being, but so we was going right. The whole time we was headed right. We should have came out at those silos on the right-hand side of that barn. But that's when we all got twisted and turned around, and y'all got separated, and then I lost him. I still to this day cannot figure out where he went, because the last thing I remember.
How do you go anywhere? You're the one that.
The last thing I remember was he was reading a sign that was up on the barn about vandalism. Somebody had done some vandalism or something, and I was looking at that. I was reading it, and I remember seeing him walk around the back of the barn. And I was getting ready to go right behind him, and then I was like, "Baby," I was trying to figure out where he was at. He wasn't answering, so I didn't want to interrupt the live. So I just kind of went around, and then he was gone. I couldn't see him anywhere. All I could see was Michelle's flashlight.
And it was weird how we all got separated.
Right.
Yeah, and I told Letitia, I said, "Stay right behind me. Do not go anywhere."
Right.
And the next thing I know, she's. And half a mile away, I see a light half a mile away, and I was hollering, "Letitia."
Yeah, I can't explain that part. I seriously,
And And I never
You know, I mean,
I never leave his
because there's been many discussions about portals and how they may travel and this, that, and the other. I'm wondering if maybe Letitia stumbled through one of those things that they're discussing, whatever they are, and that may have made her sick.
Yeah, and when I say sick, and Anna and Bart is my witness, like she should have been home and bedridden. I mean,
Yeah.
she was that sick. It wasn't
Same
just a
on-
little
yeah,
pukey
quickly.
feeling. It was bad.
Yeah,
And it
that's
got
what I mean.
worse.
That that she may have actually gone through it and not realized that she had done it. And
Maybe portals are invisible. I don't know. But
right.
And here's another thing. I'm not scared when I'm out there. You know, I wouldn't be afraid to walk that field, you know, alone out there. I would be a little uneasy maybe, but not scared. But all I remember that night is walking that field and watching those reflectors. Because I was like, as long as I can see those reflectors in the parking lot, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I remember I walked that whole field by myself. I remember running into Larry Fisher because I seen a flashlight, and I was like, "Who is that? Who is that?" Because I couldn't find Bart. And I remember Larry hollered, "It's me, it's me." So I got up to him, and I just kept walking. I don't even know that I just kept walking. It was weird, and I was like talking to Larry, and next thing I know, I turn around and Larry's gone, and I'm out in the middle of this field by myself, and I'm like, okay. Next thing I know, I make it across the field to you guys, and then we look back, and I think it was Bart and Michelle and Larry come walking up out of the field, out of second or third around the barn area. So that was just a crazy night, and then I was sick. I was just sick.
Yeah,
you were really sick.
That would be my guess, Letitia, is that you walked through something you shouldn't have.
Or maybe you got zapped.
May have got zapped.
Who knows?
Next time I'll mind my husband.
yeah, next time I'll tie a rope to her and hold on to one.
There
end.
you go.
Yeah. Well, Henry, just to let you know, we all did have flashlights, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We did.
And there's
Yeah,
reasons
the
why
last
we
thing
don't take anything other than flashlights. We get out there with too many bright lights, things like that. We create unwanted attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really want to say who that would be, but we just don't want to, create too much attention to where we are and what we're doing, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want any interference from outside people, and including the park authority. So
Yeah.
it's always something we have to worry about.
Yep. And that's why we don't announce when we're going and where we're going when we do go to the LBL.
The general rule for me has always been, if you're planning on going to the LBL, go do it and then talk about it when you come home. So that's the best way to do it.
Yep, absolutely. Anna, you have a couple more questions here. Let me get to them. Let's see. Martin Groves asks, I already read that one. Never mind. Hold on. You got a question. He says, Miss Anna, how did you feel about Boswell's Landing? We have found the killing funnels they built there.
As soon as we pulled into that campground the very first time, I was scared. I felt scared, and I could not figure out why. I had chalked it up when we first got there because it was still daylight. It was right at sunset. I chalked it up to, it was just my nerves because I hadn't been tent camping in a long time. But, to be that scared, that's the only thing I could grasp at the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a good feeling down there. Every single time we have been down there, we have heard stuff. We have seen lights in the woods. I don't like it down there, but it draws you back because you're constantly catching stuff there.
Yeah, that's true.
And little did I know, because I think it was Martin's second book, I started reading it, and there's a dog man trail at Boswell's Landing. And we had no clue. I had no clue until I read Martin's book about it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I
great.
believe that's where they found the big dogman footprints too, or the Bigfoot prints. Him and Dewey found. I'm not sure, but I know they found some footprints there on the beach at Boswell Landing.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy thing.
And I
You
think
got-
close to a Civil War fort at one time too. And I think there was like a lot of bloodshed there in that area at Boswell. I
wow.
think Fort Henry is there, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly.
Wow.
There's a lot of history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Mark asked you has another question for you. It says, Miss Anna, what is your favorite area when scouting for the hairy beast?
Any area down there.
Yeah, it could be anywhere.
There was one particular area, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but I was with Michelle, War Criminal, Elijah, and Gabby. This was in September, and we went out. Oh, yeah, y'all got to hear this. We went out late at night, and it was my first experience with hearing call blasting. So Elijah was call blasting, and something answered. I cannot tell you what it was. I know what coyotes sound like. We did hear the coyotes, but there was something over the coyotes that howled deep, loud, long. I think it answered us twice. After the second time, it went quiet. We were there for a little bit longer, trying to get a response with different howls and stuff that Elijah had recorded. And we just didn't get anything except for the coyotes after hearing those first two really long, deep howls. And that freaked me out. It was so dark. We had all the lights out. And that was scary because what can you chalk that up to other than Dogman, what we were hearing? Then when we got ready to leave, you all have heard the stories about the blacked out vans, the white vans. When we left out of there, we were getting ready to turn onto the trace. This was 1 a.m. We had been way back down a gravel road. There's nothing back there but woods now. Nothing. And a white van with tinted windows turned beside us to go where we had just left.
Wow. On that note, I'd like to say hello to my friend, the I can't say his name unfortunately, but the LBL scientist. He is watching us tonight. So
awesome.
Hello to you,
awesome.
buddy.
Yeah.
We all just sat there like, oh my gosh, did we just see that? And the guy that was driving, his window was not tinted. If his window was tinted, if his driver's side window was tinted, it was rolled down. And he was wearing a button-down shirt and glasses. So it's like, what are you doing back there at 1 a.m. in a white van in a button-down shirt?
Right.
What is back there? What are you doing?
Right.
It was so weird. But yeah, that was freaky.
We actually seen the white vans the night that we was there, Halloween night, when we went to Red Hollow. There was the white blacked out van. Remember that?
The parking spots. So now they've changed them. So ever since the LBL scientist wrote me that letter months ago, that seemed to be a catalyst. When I read that letter in one of my videos, everything changed. Now they're using black vans. I think they're like Cadillac vans. So instead of seeing the white vans, now we're seeing the black Cadillac vans.
Wow.
They went from no money and no police presence, no park ranger presence, to saturating the whole park with park rangers. So it changed a lot when I read that letter, and it's kind of hard now because they pay a really close attention to what people are doing there. You know, they have their cameras set up, and they know what you're doing. You think you're not on camera, but you probably are when you're in the LBL. So went from zero budget to evidently hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay all these people to police the place. Yeah.
Yep. True story. And when we were there in May and I was leaving, I had the cabins and they were in my name. So I had to wait until they could go check to make sure we didn't tear up anything. So I'm sitting there and I do have a Bigfoot sticker on the back of my car. And one of the guards at that particular campground came over and asked if, I was with the people up on the hill. I was like, yeah. And he said, and this is the honest to God's truth, my 13-year-old daughter heard it. He said that there had been a dogman sighting there in camp, as well as they have 15 reports, 15 Bigfoot sightings down there. So you can't tell me they're not keeping track.
Right. And this was from the guy working in the check-in station.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
he didn't know you and you didn't know him. And
Nope.
I think he saw your, you have a sticker or something on your.
Yep. My Bigfoot sticker on my car.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he just volunteered that information. That's totally unlike the people that work there. They usually they want to keep it quiet. And if you ask anybody any questions, they're like, no, that's all fiction.
Right.
Crazy. Anybody believes that stuff. But this guy actually just offered that to you out of the blue, which is unusual.
Yeah. But I was by myself, so nobody else heard him. My car was pulled off to the side and he was over there talking. So, last time we were there, just a few weeks ago, I was hoping that same guard would have been there. So you could have spoke to him. So I got my eyes out. He still works there. I did find that out, but I
and
feel
this
like
time maybe we can luck up and find him and I can interview that
right.
guy. So
well, we know what he looks like. So
yeah, we definitely know what he looks like. So, maybe talk to him privately when he's off duty or something. Have him come see us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that was, to me, that just told me everything I needed to know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we didn't know it already, but yes, that's
Right.
just confirmation.
Yeah.
Wow, these 2 hours have flown by. It seems like we've been sitting here for like 30 minutes.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, it's yeah. Holy cow. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. This has been fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I just I want to give a shout out to Miss Penny Van. We love you, darling. We're thinking of you.
Hello, Penny.
Everybody keep her in your prayers. She lost somebody very close to her recently,
Yeah,
and we love you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also Miss Letitia's sitting right there too. She's sicker than a dog. And she honestly should be in bed and not sitting here on this show.
That's why we're like, go to bed. We'd love to stay on longer, but go to bed.
Trust me.
Most definitely.
And if anyone is interested in another one of my paranormal stories, I do have one on Amazon. My pen name is AJ Kaywood, and the story is called The Promise. It is listed as fiction, but everything in that story is true. It happened to me when I was 2 years old. I think I changed the names. The little girl Lily is actually me. It happened when my brother was born, and it was a major paranormal incident at that time in my life and my mother's life.
Wow.
It's a short story.
Wow. And that's on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon under my pen name AJ Kaywood, and it's titled The Promise. And the cover has snow on it with like little purple flowers coming up out of the snow.
Wow, very cool. Well, we'll have to have you back, Anna.
Well,
yeah, well, of course.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for coming on. This
So
has
nice
been
to
fun.
see you again, Anna.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, you guys too. I love you all.
Yes,
I
we
love
love
you and
you
Ted.
too. And Bart and Letitia, thank you for coming on and co-hosting with us. We appreciate you two as well.
You're very
Yes,
welcome.
thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Hollywood, we love you two girls. So anytime we can help you, we will.
Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Everybody tune in tomorrow night. We have, who do we have on? Ronald Murphy. Ron Murphy is who our guest is tomorrow night. So
I love Ron. He's such a good guy.
Yeah. So tomorrow night he'll be our guest. So tune in, and until tomorrow, you guys all have a good Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Good
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Good night.